Hi, welcome to the Big Bear Homestead. And today we're going to talk about the good,
the bad,
and the ugly
of homesteading.
Hi, welcome to the Big Bear Homestead. And if this is your first time here and you want to learn about everything homesteading, animal husbandry, canning, essential oils, predator control,
anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and don't forget the bell.
Don't forget to bell.
The bell, yeah. Don't forget to bell.
That's it.
Don't forget the bell. Okay, so today we're taking part in a collaboration from Wholesome Roots. She would like for us to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of homesteading.
Right. This was really hard.
This is kind of a big loaded gun.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been homesteading now for what?
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So we've lived through a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
A lot of it.
And, you know, it doesn't, you're always going to have it. It's never going to change.
Right.
But it was kind of hard for us to narrow down just a couple of things.
Yeah, we could talk all day about this.
All day. So what we've done is we've narrowed down basically 3 things in each group.
So let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's talk about the good.
Okay, good. First thing to me is the food. The quality of the food. It's healthy food. And there's nothing more satisfying than sitting down and you've got a burger that came from your cow, slice of tomato that came from your garden, lettuce. I know, it's almost dinner time. But, you know, there's nothing more gratifying than seeing that and knowing that, and I'm sure as a guy, being able to actually put food on the table is probably a big good, I would think.
Well, and also the fact that I know that I'm helping provide you and the kids with healthy food.
Right.
Food that is alive, not processed stuff.
Chemical ridden.
You know, my food traveled 30 feet from the garden to the house, not 3,000 miles from California to the local Kroger.
Fair enough.
Number 2, at least for me, and this might be the guy thing that you were talking about,
right,
is the security that it provides. The steps towards self-reliance.
Right.
From the first day of homesteading, when you get that first quail or chicken, and you start providing meat or eggs, you don't have to buy that stuff at the store anymore.
Right.
And then as time goes on, because you can't help but get hooked. Everybody jokes that the chicken is the gateway animal.
Right.
And it is, because you get hooked. All of a sudden, you're not buying those eggs. So you took that step towards self-reliance. And then you build upon it. And it empowers you and you...
to keep going.
Going.
Yeah. And then the final one, to me, and this is a pretty big one, is the amount of education that we were able to expose our children to. All the way up from Blaze, who's a young adult, down to, you know, when Ladessa was 2 or 3 years old. I mean, you know, just learning animal husbandry, science. I mean, these kids are like super science buffs. So there's so many different educational opportunities when you homestead that they don't even teach in schools anymore. A lot of lost skills that we're able to learn and practice on a daily basis.
Yeah, you got things like home ec, cooking, gardening, you know, and here's the thing. It helps educate our kids, but it keeps our wits very sharp, and that also helps combat stuff like Alzheimer's and stuff, because you constantly problem-solving skills for our homesteaders on a problem-solving skills chart. We score way off the chart.
And the kids are like that. They definitely have learned to think outside the box to be able to fix things. So, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the bad.
The bad.
And this is not like Gangster, I'm bad.
No.
Or Michael Jackson's bad. This is like horrible bad.
Well, I don't know. There's still so many pluses that go with it that even these bads are kind of a stretch. Like, they were kind of hard.
Well, really. I mean, these bads are bad, but it's not like stepping on a Lego barefoot bad.
Yeah, no.
We're going to get to that next.
Right. So, the first thing at least for me, the one that when we were thinking about this, I like blurted it out. So it was obviously it's a sore spot for me.
I know, right?
When you homestead, and you truly homestead.
So you're not playing Homestead?
No, that's
too
funny.
Soon?
Yeah, too soon. But, when you live this lifestyle, and it's actually a lifestyle for you, you really don't get to take a vacation. You may be able to go away. Like what we've done is been creative enough to be able to find places that are within a day's drive. Mm-hmm. To be able to go do stuff. And we might be able to let somebody watch for like a day. But one of our big negatives have been, like, now that our son has gotten old enough, a lot of times he stays behind to take care of the farm. And so we don't get to take him with us. Not that he necessarily would want to go with us. But, taking a full family vacation is not as doable when you have all of the responsibilities that you have. Mm-hmm. You just can't. And even if you do manage to get away, you're still running over things in your head that you should be doing, or you could be doing, or you need to do when you get back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
That one doesn't bother me as much as it does you. The one that bothers me probably more than anything is my friends or my family. When I tell them what we're doing, they look down their nose at me. Mm-hmm. They're like, "What?
You're doing what?
Why don't you just go to Kroger?
It is so much cheaper to just buy your chicken. They're on sale, and then of course you start to educate them.
And then they don't talk to you no more because
right.
they think
you're crazy.
They think they put you in with people that don't believe that the moon landing happened.
Right, you're a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. Right, exactly. But I will say one of the good things is that you eventually can convert some of those people over. Like we had one that was totally thought we were crazy. And over the course of the years, now likes to order food from us. So, there's kind of a good side to some of that. But yeah, your family, mostly family, that's a hard one when they think you're just crazy or you're not providing for yourself mm-hmm. or whatever. That one's always rough to take. So what's the final one?
The final one kind of goes hand in hand with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you do homesteading and you share your adventures on like YouTube or
right, any kind of social media
Instagram,
platform,
Twitch,
mm-hmm.
whatever. You start meeting other people that homestead also and that think like you do.
Mm-hmm.
But
so that's good.
But the problem is they live a couple hundred miles away. They'll live in a completely different state, or they'll
Alabama,
live
Virginia,
North Carolina,
Ohio, Florida,
Maine,
right?
Maine.
Alabama.
Still want to visit those friends in Maine.
Kentucky.
Maine. Just saying Maine.
Saying no. Anyway.
The Maine friends in Maine.
So anyway, that's tough because you have people that you get along with, but they live hours and hours and hours away. Yeah.
But see, also the other thing about your friends that live in Maine is because they're so far away from us with them living in Maine that it's almost like we've went back in time to the 1800s.
Where it took you all day to get to go see your friends.
It took you all day to go see. I mean, case in point, we have a neighbor who, when he introduced himself, he said he was the West Side Adams, not
mm-hmm.
the East Side Adams.
Right.
And because when I asked him to explain that, he said they had some family that literally moved on the other side.
One side of the creek.
On side of the creek, and it took longer to get there via mm-hmm. the buggy. That it literally drove a wedge in
between the families.
In between the families.
Faction off.
And so now to visit our friends in Maine, it might drive a wedge in our family to go.
It's gonna drive a wedge in something else. It's not gonna be
to go to Maine.
So yes, having friends that
in Maine
don't live close by can be a bad thing.
Okay, so the ugly of homesteading.
The ugly of homesteading, yes. So one thing that I'm sure everybody doesn't really, the ugly part of homesteading is going to be loss. Whether it's you have this great garden and it's producing well and it's almost ready for you to start harvesting, and then all of a sudden you have this nasty storm that comes and just wipes out everything, and then all of a sudden you have nothing to show for it because it's all over the ground and none of it's salvageable.
Well, a prime example of that, and if you're part of the Big Bear homesteading group on Facebook, you can see this.
Mm-hmm.
We had a friend of ours who doesn't live in Maine had a beautiful, his garden was doing great, and it was beautiful.
Luscious, like it was green everywhere. And you could see these little watermelons forming and all
And then a
kinds of stuff.
hailstorm came through and just beat it to mess. And then he posted the next picture, and you saw these little melons, and then this, what it just looked like bamboo poles.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all of the leaves are just like pounded into the ground.
Yeah, it looked like a green carpet. It was heartbreaking.
Bad, so bad.
I mean, so yeah, or you go out to do a head count on your calves and stuff that are out there, like what happened to us the other day. You go out there to do a head count. The day before, everybody looked fine.
Everybody's great. Everybody's happy, jumping around, good to go.
A calf gets a hold of something, makes him bloat up. He gets the bloat. You're asleep in the bed, don't realize it. You come out in the morning and he's gone.
He's gone. Nothing you can do about it.
Nothing you can do about it.
You know, and just another quick one. I mean, when we first got into pigs, we didn't know what we were doing with pigs, so we had the wrong breed. And then we finally figured out the right breed to have. And we had kept them long enough to where they finally were bred, having piglets. And she had a prolapse, and we lost all of the piglets except for one, and we lost her. Yep. And it was a struggle because we were up 3/4 of the night trying to save her.
Yeah.
You know, we did that with a calf too. I don't know if you even remember that. I mean, we've been doing this so long that there's so many different loss and success stories that sometimes you get started on them, you could go on forever.
And what my next thing for the ugly would be, which also kind of goes hand in hand with loss, is probably the ugliest thing that goes along with homesteading, and that's predator attacks. Because those can happen at any given point in time.
Anytime.
And you won't know about it until you've already lost something. Then if you don't know how to deal with it...
That's bad too.
That's just horrible, because by the time that you figure it out...
It could be too late. You could have lost everything.
You could lose your whole flock, your whole herd.
Right. Exactly. So, that can be bad.
But that can be prevented by going to the Homesteaders of America conference this year and taking my class on October the 11th.
Shameless plug. And then finally, the other one that is definitely ugly, but it's kind of humorous, like years down the road when you're retelling the story, is the late night fire emergencies. And the thing is that when you have the responsibility of raising livestock, you really have to take that to heart. Like, that's very important. I mean, you're in charge of something else's living and being. And, you know, there are
security and safety.
Right, and there are times when things happen that you just can't predict are going to happen. Like, you know, a storm happening and a tree taking out a fence.
A tree gets hit by lightning, splits in two, lands on the fence, scares the bejeebas out of the cows, and they go boogity, 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 and next thing you know, they're in Harlem. They're in a whole different town away because they ran through the woods.
Or you don't find out about it because you're inside worrying about your own security, and then you wait for the storm to pass, you go outside to assess damage and do your nightly milking, and your cow is nowhere to be found. And then you wait for the next morning, and she's nowhere to be found. You find her in cow jail. You know, but then the other late night farm emergencies, like it's raining and it's pouring down rain, and everybody has to stop what they're doing and all hands on deck digging a trench to keep the water out of the barn, or moving broilers out of the...
Or turkeys, or putting stuff up to divert water away from newborn piglets or a newborn calf.
Right, exactly.
You know, stuff like that.
Stuff like that you can't, I mean, you don't look to somebody else and be like, well, you take care of it. I mean, who else is going to do it?
You got to be out there and do it.
Or chasing animals at dusk when you can't see them, you don't know where they are, and you've got, you know, the local sheriff's department helping you try to round them up. So... those kind of things can be very trying, and those are the kind of things I like to tell people, stick through that stuff, because right now it may seem like the end of the world, getting a phone call or a knock on the door from the sheriff's department saying, hey, your cow got hit by a truck or something like that. That stinks when it happens. But a year or two down the road, when everything's cleared and everything's done, you can kind of, you don't laugh about it, but you can kind of go, wow, that was really tough.
That was tough. But you come out and see anything, whether we're talking about the bad or the ugly, unless we're talking about your friends that live in Maine.
They're character building.
You come out of these situations knowing more. You learn from them.
Right.
So the next time something comes along, like when you know storm season's coming along, getting close by, you're already going out to your perimeter fencing and looking up. Okay, let me go ahead and take this tree out. Let me go ahead and limb this here. Do this here. Because if I get a bad storm, I can't afford for that limb to get hit and fall on this fence. It's going to cause me more headache than it would be if I just dropped that stinking tree right now.
Unless you're insane, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And you can't do that in homesteading. You have to roll with the punches, and you have to adjust according. And no two people's journey on homesteading is going to be the same.
Nope. Well, a lot of different factors go into it. Like, people in Maine won't take the same precautions with their milk cow that we do.
Because the milk's going to freeze as it's coming out. Like, no. No.
Just like the people, our friends in Maine, they garden different than we do.
They don't have a long growing season like we do. We have like waves of growing. We can start first thing in spring, and we've got stuff. I mean, we have people right now that are just now starting to get flowers on their tomato plants. I canned salsa this week.
Just like our friends in Maine don't have that big of a fire ant or insect problem.
And?
Well, there you go. That's our version or our thoughts of the good, the bad, and the ugly of homesteading.
Right.
I hope you guys found this video informative and entertaining. We want to take this time to thank Rose, who's not from Maine, at Wholesome Roots. Matter of fact, I think she's like right up the street. Isn't she in Georgia?
No. Well, she's in Georgia, but she's a little bit further than just up the street.
That way. Kind of like that way. But she's not in Maine.
Not in Maine.
For inviting us to take part in this collaboration.
Very cool.
Yeah. And to our friends in Maine, we're coming.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks for coming by the Big Bear Homestead. And like always,
have a nice day.